This is the swing speed checklist for golfers. Swing speed has become exceptionally valued for PGA Tour players. Here's how the PGA has valued swing speed and ball speed in recent days on the PGA Tour. In 2009, it was found that about 34% of PGA Tour players had a ball speed of 170 or greater. Then in 2020, when they looked again, they found that over 80% of golfers on the PGA Tour had a ball speed of greater than 170 miles per hour. Not to mention the high correlation that's been found between distance and money, right? So the further these PGA Tour players can hit it, the more they get paid. We need to understand that distance is a product of ball speed, which is a product of swing speed. How do we get the body to produce a swing that is faster? How do we get a faster swing? How can we train the body to produce a faster swing? What are the principles that kind of guide training and rehabbing into a faster swing speed if we're coming back from pain, injury, or mobility loss? Let's learn how we can go about doing that today. So the first thing that we need to appreciate if we're going to increase swing speed and start working on the physical capacity to swing the club faster is strength, right? So strength is you could say the bottom of the pyramid. If we're going to swing faster, we have to be stronger. Now, it's not that strength directly impacts swing speed, but it gives you the capability to use that strength to create speed. And we'll talk a little bit about how that works. But essentially, if your power output is a percentage of your max strength, the higher we can put your strength, the higher that number is for your power, right? If it's going to be 65% of your max power or strength is what your power and speed is going to be, then the more strength you have, the higher your strength is as a number, right? As newtons or amount of weight that you can lift, then the faster or more newtons you can produce at a high speed, right? So essentially, all power is producing as much force as quickly as possible. Strength, on the other hand, is producing as much force as possible, period. There is no time domain, really, with strength. So you can be strong but slow. What we need to do is increase our strength so that we can be as fast as we can at higher loads, okay? Now, there's ways of training that, but the first thing we need to do is address strength. What are some common strength movements, right? So we need to address the lower half. We need to make sure something like a split squat is being done to improve our ability to lift more weight in a squat position. We can do a bodyweight squat. We can do a barbell back squat, a front squat. Like I'd mentioned, a split squat here, even rear foot elevated, some variation depending on where you are at, right? We need to train the squat movement. It's an essential component to creating force, velocity, and speed in the golf swing. Is this ability to create vertical force, okay? Besides that, we can train horizontal push, so it's something like a bench press, dumbbell press, push-ups. Different variations of this horizontal push has been found to be very important for creating improved swing speeds, right? So we need this horizontal push. Slightly more important than that is this horizontal pull, so pulling back. So imagine through the swing, we push, but then we start to pull. It's one of the most important characteristics of creating that club head speed. So things like pull-ups, barbell rows, dumbbell rows, three-point stance rows, even a cable row, any variation of row that we're training a little bit consistently to improve our ability to pull in towards us. Okay, so those are three major strength areas that we can work through to begin improving strength, whether it's in the rehab process for rehabbing injuries. We can continue that cycle even as we get into the more functional phases of the rehab process and just do as much as we can to improve your vertical strength, right? Your lower half strength, your horizontal push, and your horizontal pull. So we need to get stronger first. Now, a second key characteristic to work on after strength, which improves our kind of speed ceiling and velocity ceiling, is actually training for power. But we can be a little bit more specific than that. So with power, we want to train at max effort and as fastest speeds as we can without dropping the weight too much. So essentially, we're trying to train as heavy as we can, but also as fast as we can. So lower the weight only as much as we need to before we start to essentially, we can train at 100% speed, right? So what we're really trying to train here is the passive tissue effect or rate of force development. But let's talk specifically about the passive kind of tissue effect. We want to retrain the components of the muscle and the tendon to be able to stretch and then recoil. Okay, so these are characteristics of our tissue. This can be improved upon and trained and adapted. So after doing strength work, we can do power work, and more specifically within that power training work, we're working on the ability to stretch and recoil with our muscles. The way we do that is just by doing exercise that puts us on a stretch, and then we take advantage of that recoil. So there's specific movements that we can do after strength training to help train that back in, whether we're in the rehab process and need to make sure that everything can translate back to the golf swing, or we're in that capacity potential handicap lowering phase of training, right? Just getting as best and fast as we can, right? So here's a few movements that you can try that will work on improving this capacity or this component of power in the golf swing. Okay, this is the med ball chest pass plyometric. We can do this in a few different positions. We can start with this hook lying position where my feet are flat to the floor. I have a slight bend in my knees. All we're doing here is simply a chest pass. So we're working on power, force, and speed development in the upper half or the upper extremity for the swing. And we know how important this push strength is and how it translates to the golf swing, creating speed in the golf swing. So we can work on some of the stretch shortening cycle components of the upper extremity, especially here at the chest, to take advantage of, again, the physiology of the muscles to create a stretch, shorten that stretch by contracting and using that elastic component to create speed and power. So all we're doing here is a chest pass, catch, and then pass again. So we'll go up as fast as we can. Okay, working on catching that ball, absorbing that force, and then getting it back up as fast as you can. Another great way to start this is actually just starting it from your chest and seeing how fast can you get this from this position here to fully extended as fast and high as you can. So even just working that quick component there would be great. But again, we can eventually work into just doing a couple, maybe 4 or 5 catch and release. Again, when you stop doing good quality reps, you know it's time to take a little bit of a break. Work with the weight of a ball that's reasonable for you. It can be 6 pounds, 8 pounds, working up towards 10 pounds. And if you can, after that, start to progress a little bit higher, but start light and work from there. The heavier that ball is, the more force that's going to come down with that you have to, again, transfer back into this, what is going to be horizontal force that we're throwing straight up towards the ceiling. So another great drill for creating this upper half power and speed development. Give it a shot. Okay, for this exercise, what we need is a wall and a medicine ball. Fairly light on the medicine ball. What we want to do, I kind of focus on with this exercise, is getting our hips to stay back and to be able to push through and create power through those hips. So I'm going to have one foot up on the wall. I'll have my other foot in front. From here, the motion is a rotation towards that front side foot, and then back up towards away, and then through and down into the ground like that. I want you to always maintain pressure of this backside foot into that wall. From here, I want you to get explosive with this hip, but always keeping pressure in this wall. What that does is it allows us to create force and pressure into this hip without moving and extending forward. Okay, so you can imagine the golf swing. This is going to help prevent that early extension, or giving us a feel what it feels like to get into this hip, to create power through that hip without coming through over top of that hip. Okay, so it's helping us rotate and stay back through the pelvis, keeping the pelvis back, using this left glute to come back and take up that space. Okay, so again, it's here, pushing into that wall, here. So I can feel myself as I go to contract to really slam this ball into the ground with my left leg to do this, is that I'm also getting a little bit of contraction here to, again, help influence this stay back through here like that. Okay? You can do this on both sides. Go ahead, give it a shot. Okay, for this exercise and drill, what we need is a med ball and a wall. What we're going to picture or imagine here is on our backswing. What we're trying to avoid is this hike of the shoulders at that transition from the top of the backswing into the downswing. So what we're going to do to start to emphasize that is with a medicine ball, we're going to go straight back, and then I want you to think dropping that arm down, throwing the ball down towards your back heel, okay? So from here, we're going up, then I want you to think back down towards your back heel. Okay, this helps keep us going from here to more here. Okay, after that, a couple of those, what I want you to do is same thing, backswing, and then I want you to go same thing back towards heel, but I want you to follow that swing through a little bit. Okay, so we come off the wall just slightly, backswing. So you let that ball release on your way down, and you hope, and we're aiming to get that ball to land towards our back heel again. So that helps that transition. And then we can get into a little bit more intensity where we're really slamming that ball down and then focusing on that follow through. Okay? Go ahead, give that a shot. Okay, this is the kettlebell clean and snatch from a staggered stance position. I love these exercises for golfers, especially once we start working on creating ground reaction forces, but also after we've included or improved their ability to, say, get into a hip, right? So we've done things like a kickstand hinge or a slouching split squat and different variations of learning to kind of get this glute working again and get you to actually push and hinge into that hip and use the outside part of the hip and all that. This is a great drill to kind of put on top of that because now we're getting more reactive into that position. So this is essentially what the drill or exercise looks like. What we're doing is a kettlebell snatch in this instance, or a clean, where we're just coming up to the shoulder. A few things that I want you to keep in mind. What we want to feel as we hinge, rotate into this hip, and then again sit back into this hip is this posterior glute, lower glute inside of the hip working to support that position. Want to be more hip and glute than quad, okay? Quad or hamstring, more hip and glute. So if we've learned and done a really good job of learning how to get into that hip, then this is a great, you should be able to feel it kind of poke into that side. Again, after we've improved your ability to create internal rotation on this trail side leg, another great way to get some dynamic internal rotation into that hip. Now, what we want here is to be able to push, create vertical forces out of that lead side foot. So we're just doing, let's go back to the snatch. We see ourselves pulling into this position, sitting back in this position, and being explosive as we come up and catch the kettlebell overhead, absorb the force, create the force. So it's mostly coming from the hip, but we do get some knee extension and some work with the quad as we do that. From the side. Play around with the weight, get good at it, understand what you should be feeling, and then increase the load and the weight. And again, a great drill for learning to create, accept load with a little bit of twist, and then use that to create more force and moving out of it. Great for the trail side leg and the lead side leg in the golf swing, especially as we start to learn to create vertical forces with this lead side leg. So go ahead, give it a shot. Now, with all these movements that we did here, some key things to remember. Max effort is the most important thing. There's no accumulating volume here and getting to fatigue and trying to do more reps or more sets. What's most important here is the quality of the reps. So 100% effort at 100% speed is the most important thing. Resting longer than you think you should to make sure you're 100% recovered so that, again, we can have the highest quality max effort reps that is possible. There's a big neurological component to this training. Even though we're working on the physiology of the muscle and the tendon, still to produce as much force, stretch, and recoil through those muscles, we need to make sure that we're training at 100% speed, which means we need recovery. This is only done with kind of lower reps, max effort, max speed. Now, I had mentioned training power, the physiology of it, right? So improving the tissue's ability to stretch and recoil, that stress shortening cycle or X factor. But also in this power training is the nervous system, like I kind of touched on. So let's specifically work to improve the nervous system. Same principles apply. Max effort training, lower reps, plenty of rest in between, early on in a training session, making sure that we're getting the highest quality, fastest, most explosive reps that we can. That's how we get the nervous system to adapt. Now, more specifically, we can talk about over speed training or speed training. So this is where things like the speed sticks come into play, where we're actually swinging things faster than we normally would swing a golf club. We can swing it faster than we possibly could swing a golf club. We're going to spend time and exist in speeds that, again, mimic the golf swing, are essentially the golf swing, but we're moving faster. We've pushed the nervous system to a speed beyond what we can create with the golf club, And what this does is train these patterns and motor control that when we do get the club back in our hand, we've started to improve the speed that we can produce with that. This is overspeed training. It's an important component to club head speed training. So with this specific characteristic that we're trying to train in the power and speed section here, it is things like speed sticks, 100% max effort reps. We'll show you a demonstration of what you can do with things like speed sticks or similar tools to help train the nervous system for the golf swing. Okay, this is our speed stick heavy, moderate, light drill. What we do here is we use something like these speed sticks that are weighted a little bit differently than each other and then your clubs. The red here is heavier than your typical driver. The moderate or the blue here slightly less, and then the green is a little bit less than the blue. So even more so, less weight, lighter than your driver. So we'll go a little bit heavier to start. The way we start these drills, they're very simple. We just take swings as fast as we can with the different weighted clubs, right? So we have the heaviest we have where we're just kind of getting going. And I want you to swing the head of the club as fast as you can with this heavy club, okay? Again, full back swings as much as you can. Neural drive is the key here. It's all about the nervous system. How fast can we move this club, okay? Work on shifting weight and again, being as quick as you can. With these swings, it can be simple. We can just kind of go back, swing, load back up, swing through. It's all about that nervous system jump, 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 okay? 10 to 12 swings with the heavier club there. Then we get right into the moderate, which is a little bit lighter than your typical driver. And we're doing the same thing here, trying to make the loudest swoosh that you can with the club, swinging that club as quickly as you can. The club head specifically, trying to create as much speed as you possibly can. Full out max effort nervous system. Get your muscles to turn on and then turn off as quickly as possible. Load back up, do it again. 10 to 12 swings with the moderate. And then we choose the lightest option, which is again, quite light, much lighter than your driver. And again, working on swinging this thing as fast as you can. Get the head of the club moving as quickly as possible, max effort. Again, 10 to 12 swings. What this drill and sequencing is doing is starting you light, getting lighter, and then getting much lighter than you'd ever really have in your hands with the driver. And again, what that is doing is overspeed training. So we're training the body to be able to create this motion as quickly as humanly possible. And that neural adaptation we get from that will carry over to the normally weighted driver. So this is our heavy, moderate, light speed stick swing drill. Okay, for this speed drill, what we're using is a light speed stick, the lightest that you can get. All we're doing with this drill here is a normal swing, except for we are lifting our lead side heel in the backswing. So as I come back up, my lead side heel comes up, and what we're going to do is use that as a cue to drive weight forward, shift weight to that lead side, and get vertical force. So as this foot comes down, we then use that as a cue to get back up. So all these are is max effort, speed training swings with the lift lead heel, and then we stomp that down on the way back. Okay, we do that for reps, just like that, working on swinging that head of the club as quickly as you possibly can. Give it a shot. Okay, so those were some neurology-specific training methods that we can use to improve club head speed in the golf swing. What I want to show you here is a couple of circuits that you can do that addresses different components of this power in the golf swing, okay? So it's a circuit that you can do early on in a training session after you've warmed up, or even just alone on any given day where this might just be the only training that you're doing. There's simple short circuits that put together the stretch shortening cycle training, max power and effort training, and then this speed and neurology training that we talked about, where you can get a little bit of each component. Make sure you give yourself plenty of rest with these movements and do them early in a training session if you're going to do more after. Okay, go ahead and give these circuits a try. Okay, this is our thoracic car exercise. So for this one, you can do it standing, you can do a tall kneeling, or you can be seated back on your heels like this. I prefer this tall kneeling position. Now, what we can do here is we can grab a a soft ball that we want to hold tight like this, or we can just grab our shoulders like this. And I want you to create some tension throughout your entire body as you do this. About 20% effort in your tension as you grab, kind of hug yourself, squeeze the glutes, the quads, and that upper back. Now, from this position here, it's a flexion forward through the thoracic spine, like that. I don't want this angle at the hips to change too much, right? So it should mostly be through our back. That thoracic spine is our mid-back. And the moment we feel like we start having to hinge at our hips, that's when we've gone too far, right? So from here to about this region here. So we're flexed forward, and then we're going to rotate in one direction as far as we can. We're going to tilt into that direction as far as we can. Then from here, we're extending back and around. When we come to this side here, we're doing something similar. So as we extend back and around, we want to go into that side tilt, rotation towards and down, and then flexing down and around towards the center again. And that would be 1 rep. This is something we can rep out for a couple times, but you should be quite fatigued even after just a few reps. Again, it's about 20-30% of tension throughout your body here. But when we're doing this, I want this to be a full effort contraction, flexing down through here, full effort contraction to rotate, tilt, extend, tilt, rotate, and then maintain that flexion down to the start. Okay, go ahead, give that a shot. Okay, for this exercise and drill, what we need is a med ball and a wall. What we're going to picture or imagine here is on our backswing. What we're trying to avoid is this hike of the shoulders at that transition from the top of the backswing into the downswing. So what we're going to do to start to emphasize that is with a medicine ball, we're going to go straight back, and then I want you to think dropping that arm down, throwing the ball down towards your back heel, okay? So from here, we're going up, then I want you to think back down towards your back heel, okay? This helps keep us going from here to more here, okay? After that, a couple of those, what I want you to do is same thing, backswing, and then I want you to go same thing, back towards heel, but I want you to follow that swing through a little bit, okay? So we come off the wall just slightly, backswing. So you let that ball release on your way down, and you hope, and we're aiming to get that ball to land towards our back heel again. So that helps that transition, and then we can get into a little bit more intensity where we're really slamming that ball down and then focusing on that follow through. Okay, go ahead, give that a shot. Okay, this is our light speed stick max effort swing. It's very simple. We have a club in our hands here that is lighter than your driver ever would be. And we can work on here is that overspeed training of teaching the nervous system to, again, generate contraction of a golf swing as quickly as possible, right? So we have our lightest little speed stick here, and all we're doing with this, again, normal swing. So take it into the backswing as quickly as you can, swing the club. Back, as quickly as you can, swing the club, normal mechanics, okay? That is the light speed stick max effort swing. Okay, last here, we'll show you some drills that you can do specifically on the range, which the main emphasis here is club head speed, right? So we were maybe lacking a little bit here on the pure impact, or maybe other swing characteristics can start to come into play a little bit. You do your best to hold off any bad patterns. But the main point of these drills is putting you in position and having goals other than just the trajectory or the outcome of the shot. The main goal is club head speed and producing speed with these drills. So here's a couple of drills that you can try on the range. But again, the main point here is trying to get you to create as much speed and power in the golf swing. Okay, so this is a golf drill. This is the lift, lead, heel drill. This is going to help us translate all the work that we've been doing in the gym and in the clinic on opening up hip mobility as well as stability and motor control. It's going to help us translate that from the gym floor and the clinic floor onto the golf range and the golf course itself. So again, this isn't much of a swing drill as it is kind of a sensation. Translate all that work that we've been doing to feel those hips working, and then we're going to start feeling this now on the golf course itself. So we're helping influence that translation where you can start using this. You can start practicing in this position and with this new mobility and stability that you have. So again, we're focusing this mainly on the hips. Say, for instance, we're working on hip mobility, whether it's internal rotation of the other side. The lift, lead, heel drill, we use to shorten swing here. But when you're out in the range, what I want you to do is on the backswing is to lift that lead side heel. So get up onto your toes a little bit. And the key here is now on the downswing is to slam that heel down into the ground as you come down into the downswing. So what you can see is happening there is we're really emphasizing our ability to post up into this lead side leg. And once we close that kinetic chain there, we can't get rotation down through the foot, is that rotation has to happen somewhere else. It's going to have to happen here at the hip, which is what we want. It's going to really emphasize that. So again, we're slamming that foot, that heel into the ground. We're posting up through it on the downswing. And you can see now we're using all this internal rotation that we've built through our time here in the clinic and on the gym floor. Now we have a drill. It's like, hey, I need to be able to feel that, or my swing isn't changing much. Well, it's like, let's influence you to start feeling what that's like to actually use that range of motion and all that stability that we've built into this hip to actually do it during your golf swing. That's what this drill is going to help us for, okay? Again, as we come down, we slam that heel. It's going to help teach us to keep our hip back here. It's going to limit us to, it's going to help us use that glute and that posterior and side hip that we've been working on to keep that pelvic control, to keep that back while allowing for hip internal rotation. It also keeps us from early extending. If we can do this correctly, it's going to keep us from swaying through in the golf swing. It's going to keep us from doing that. And instead, we post up and we get a strong hip that we can really create some power through, okay? So once you try this at the beginning of some of your range sessions, just feel that sensation of getting into that left hip. If you're lefty, be into your right hip. Feel that sensation. Feel that start to translate. Hey, I feel this in the gym when we're doing those side-to-side kettlebell swings, and we're doing the kettlebell swings off to the side, or if we're doing a med ball throw, and it's like, man, we're doing a really good job after we've created some mobility of using that hip in the gym. And now it's just that last step to really translating it, make sure we can do it with a club in our hands. Okay, so go ahead, give that a shot. Okay, this is a drill we're going to be working on speed in the golf swing. So essentially what the drill is here, we're going to take the club back to about hip height. Then we're going to take a small step. As we're taking that small step forward towards the target, we're going to continue the backswing and then follow through. So again, hip height, small step, follow through. So you're going to let yourself rely on that stretch shortening cycle that occurs as we start to shift that weight forward, but then continue to rotate and move back in the backswing. So we get to work on a little bit of both. Okay that this feels a little bit quick or things aren't perfect, but once you start getting a little bit better at it, continue to work on this drill for max speed, speed, and then we can start to work on all the other things that come along with it. But again, use this first and foremost for creating a little bit of that forward weight shift, stretch shortening cycle, and creating as much speed through the swing as you possibly can. Over speed training. Move it faster than you normally would in the swing, and then we can translate that to being able and more comfortable to create faster speeds through what would be your normal effort swing. Give it a shot. Okay, this is our knees to center swing drill. Again, the goal of this drill as we're doing it is to increase sensation from the ground up and help you feel that stretch shortening reflex through that thorax, pelvis, and lower extremity, and then to help with that kinematic sequence, we're getting that pelvis to move a little bit first, again, creating that stretch shortening sequence as we follow through. The pelvis moves first, the thorax comes, then the arms, and then the club. That slingshot effect. This helps. Again, this is big for power, but again, also for timing and sequencing. Now, we need to make sure as we do this drill that we're doing it right, and we're really understanding and sensing what's happening there at the feet. Now, we work on what's called pronation and supination at the feet in clinic. It's important we have access to this range of motion. We're really good at sensing it and feeling it. And then again, the hips, the knees, the ankles, the pelvis itself, thorax, trunk rotation, shoulder rotation, everything like that, all things we work on. Everything that's part of the golf swing, we're working on. Now, assuming we have good access, we worked on our mobility, we worked on strength, we've worked on some ground floor, maybe med ball exercises to help cue some of this stuff, get things moving. This is kind of that last step where we put a club in your hands and we try, this is one of many swing drills we might use to help transfer that to the golf course a little bit better, where you can feel it in the actual golf swing itself. You can try it on the range before you start doing your other swing exercises and drills there in your practice. So what this drill is we come up to the top of the backswing. We're going to pause for a second. I'm limited in here in what I can do, but what we do, top of the backswing, pause for a second, and then I want you to think about recentering your knees. Again, what happens is our pelvis comes along for the ride to do that, and you have to push through your foot to do that. Both feet have to play along. This is kind of connecting your foot to the ground to create that hip internal rotation and pelvic rotation we've been working on in clinic and on the gym floor. So what we do here is, again, we think about centering our knees, bringing our knees back towards the midline. That's going to start that process of the downswing with a little bit of stretch, that stretch shortening cycle, and that kinematic sequence where we get that cueing where hips are coming first, and then we can bring everything else along for the ride. Okay? So again, we're coming up to the top of the backswing here, center the knees, and then follow through. Do everything else as you would. I want you to get that 1 second, that half second though, of centered knees. Feel how you have to push this backside foot down and away like that to do it. You have to take this lead side foot and you have to kind of open it up. It has to do this a little bit. That's supination on this side, pronation on this side. Things we work on in clinic. Now we're doing that in the actual backswing, where we're pronating one foot, supinating the other. We're really digging our feet into the ground, which is key for power. Again, from the ground up, we start that process, and I want you to feel that pressure and that tension you just created in your feet, and then use that in that downswing. Okay, so go from there, get that stretch shortening, knees to center, use that in the downswing. Use the tension you're building through here, thorax, pelvis, use the tension you're creating at your feet. Okay, give that a shot. You can do it at home, you can do it without a ball, then take it to the range and feel what it's like to start taking some swings that way. Give it a shot. Okay, so this was our creating speed in the golf swing video. We talked a little bit about how strength is important, where strength training comes into play. Vertical force, horizontal push, and a horizontal pull, making sure that we're hitting these components. Also, grip strength being an important component to that as well. They found that the greater your grip strength, or at least making sure that we're hitting a certain mark on grip strength, has a big correlation with your skill level, right? So making sure that this grip strength is coming into play as well in your training. Beyond that, we need to train or convert essentially our strength into swing speed, and we do that by training two specific things to keep it as simple as possible. The physical neurological component, right? So how fast we can twitch our muscles and actually groove that pattern of the swing, where we overspeed train and we use the neurology specifically. And then the physiological part, where we're training the actual muscle and tendon properties themselves to stretch and then contract and make sure that we have as much elasticity, or we can take advantage of that elasticity to the best that we can. Below that is where you start working on translating that to the golf swing specifically, where we are going to actually take some drills to the range and do them with our golf clubs in our hands to try to drive as much speed from that club as possible. Now, to do all this, we need a body that can produce it. That's why we're training the body. Before we train strength, before we can train the nervous system and the power, and putting that into the golf range, we need to make sure that we have mobility. If that's something that you think that you lack, check out some of the other videos that I've produced that talk about different areas or regions for golf mobility. Or if you have pain, again, we can't really train into power and swing speed if we're dealing with pain or the compensations that come from pain. It's the same thing with mobility. We'll be locked out of certain positions that we want to get into, or we're having to work through compensations from missing mobility that will prevent us from making big jumps in swing speed. So get checked out by a professional if you think that is a limitation. Check out those other videos I've produced to learn a little bit more about that as well. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe, like, and share if you can. We'll see you in the next one.